The Best Christmas Present in the World Part 2, Chapter 1.
So after completing the explanation of part 1, there are two questions in front of us. That is, you can see that on the screen. What did the author find in a junk shop? And second question, what did he find in a secret drawer? Who do you think had put it in there? You have to write the answers of these two questions in your own words. Okay. Now let's go to the second part. Now we are going to see what was there written in the letter. Dearest Connie, I write to you in a much happier frame of mind because something wonderful has just happened that I must tell you about at once. So Mr. Jim McPherson was happily writing this letter to his wife, Mrs. Jim McPherson. And at first he tells that there was something amazing happened with them. And let's see what was that amazing thing happened to him. We were all standing in our trenches yesterday morning, Christmas morning. So it was the Christmas morning and Mr. Jim McPherson was the army general. Okay. So the job of the army people, the job of the army officers are to see whether their army is going to perform well in the war or not. So they make trenches. Okay. Why? They take their position to attack the opposite party if the opposite party attacks them. Okay. So attack and re-attack, it continues during the war. So Jim McPherson tells that they had taken their position in their trenches and something happens. Let's see. It was crisp and quiet all about, as beautiful a morning as I have ever seen, as cold and frosty as a Christmas morning should be. So it was the Christmas morning. It was very beautiful, very cold and frosty. And as we know that on the holy Christmas day, the sky, the nature, everything is like blissful. It blessed all of the people, because it was a kind of day where everybody used to get the blessings of God. Okay, so Jim McPherson also describes the day as it was very beautiful for him. I should like to be able to tell you that we began it. But the truth, I am ashamed to say, is that Fritz began it. So something happened in between both the parties. Okay, British party, British army and the German army. So here Mr. Jim McPherson tells that thing we did not start. Yes, we shared whatever the German army did to us, but it was not started by us, and he was ashamed to say that. Okay, so let's see what was the initiative taken by the German army. First, someone saw a white flag waving from the trenches opposite. So all the British army, they were ready. Okay, they were in their position, and somebody saw that a white flag waving from the opposite trenches. Opposite trenches means here the opposite party, the German party, because they were on the border. Then they were calling out to us from across no man's land. So here you have to know that what is no man's land. No man's land is a kind of border area which doesn't belong to the either party. It neither belongs to the Britain nor to the Germans. Okay, it is a common land piece. There everybody is welcomed. Okay, that piece of land is known as no man's land. So the opposite party, the army members, they started calling the Britain people, okay, across the no man's land. Happy Christmas, Tommy, Happy Christmas. They started wishing them. Okay, when we had got over the surprise, some of us shouted back, same to you, Fritz, same to you. So the army of Britain is known as Tommy, and the army of the German army is known as Fritz. So the Fritz first started wishing the Tommy. The Tommy also wished the Fritz. I thought that would be that. We all did. But then suddenly one of them was up there in his greatcoat and waving a white flag. Mrs. Jim McPherson thought that maybe it was that for that day. Okay, nothing more is going to happen. But suddenly somebody came out from his trench with a white flag in his hand. "Don't shoot, lads," someone shouted, and no one did. Then there was another Fritz up on the parapet, and another. "Keep your heads down," I told the men. "It's a trick." But it was not. So then suddenly, when the first person from the opposite party came with a white flag, the Tommy thought that maybe it was a kind of trick. It was like for trapping them. Mr. Jim McPherson was about to warn the Tommy that it is a kind of trick for you. So don't be in the trick. Don't believe them. Somebody from the Tommy told that don't shoot at them. Maybe they are genuinely wanted to come to the Tommy, come to the British Army. So they waited. Okay, let's see what happens now. One of the Germans was waving a bottle above his head. "It is Christmas Day, Tommy. We have schnapps. We have sausage. We meet you." Yes? By this time, there were dozens of them walking towards us across no man's land and not a rifle between them. So actual intention of the German soldiers was to celebrate that day because it was the day of festivity. It was the day of holiness. It was the day of happiness. So the Fritz, one by one, came out from their trenches with some bottles of schnapps. Schnapps is a kind of German drink, okay, like wine. So they came out with the bottles of schnapps and sausage. Sausage is kind of edible, which is made up of meat. So they came with their bottle of schnapps and the sausage, and they told that we are willing to celebrate this day with you. So we want that you also share our schnapps and our sausage. We want to share these things with you. That means they are spreading their hand with love and affection. They want to forget the day. It was not the day of enmity. It was the day of festivity, and it was the day of loving each other. By this time, there were dozens of them walking towards us across no man's land and not a rifle between them. Little Private Morris was the first up. "Come on, boys. What are we waiting for?" And then there was no stopping them. I was the officer. I should have stopped them there and then, I suppose. But the truth is that it never even occurred to me I should. All along their line and ours, I could see men walking slowly towards one another, grey coats, khaki coats, meeting in the middle. So when the German soldiers came with the proposal of celebrating the Christmas Day, the Tommies could not stop them. Okay, one of the Tommies, he told the other British army members that let's go and celebrate this day. Let's forget everything. Let's have a festive mood now. And Mr. Jim McPherson was the army head. He was supposed to stop his army people that don't go, because it's not good that during the war you should meet the enemy party. It's not at all good for you. But Jim McPherson could not do that, because down his heart he was thinking that yes, it is a good time to mingle with each other. Maybe they wanted to make peace with each other. Maybe they did not want to spread the war. Maybe they did not want to spread the devastation of war. Okay. So all along their line, and ours, I could see men walking slowly towards one another. Grey coats, khaki coats meeting in the middle. So across the no man's land, both the colors of coats. Grey coat was of the German soldiers and khaki coat was of Britain soldiers. Okay, so both the colors of coats were mingling across the no man's land, and it was looking beautiful. And I was one of them. I was part of this. In the middle of the war, we were making peace. So even Jim McPherson could not stop himself. He also went to the no man's land to wish his enemy party, to wish the German soldiers. Maybe they were making peace. You cannot imagine, dearest Connie, my feelings as I looked into the eyes of the Fritz officer who approached me, hand outstretched. Hans Wolf, he said, gripping my hand warmly and holding it. Then Jim McPherson went on explaining the day when he went to the no man's land. The officer, the Fritz officer, the German officer, came with a widely stretched hands towards Mr. Jim McPherson. He introduces himself as Hans Wolf. He gives a handshake to Mr. Jim McPherson. I am from Dusseldorf. I play the cello in the orchestra. Happy Christmas. So Mr. Hans Wolf introduces himself as he is from Dusseldorf and he loves to play cello in the orchestra. And then he wished the warm wish of Christmas to Jim McPherson. Captain Jim McPherson, I replied, and a happy Christmas to you too. I'm a school teacher from Dorset in the west of England. Then Jim McPherson also introduces him. He tells that happy Christmas to you too, and I'm a school teacher. I work as a school teacher in Dorset and in the west of England. Ah, Dorset. He smiled. I know this place. I know it very well. We shared my rum ration and his excellent sausage. Then Mr. Hans Wolf says that yes, I know about Dorset. I actually love that place. And then both of them share their rum and the excellent tasty sausage. And we talked. Connie, how we talked. We spoke almost perfect English. But it turned out that he had never set foot in Dorset, never even been to England. Then both of them started having a conversation, a long conversation. Jim McPherson tells that, dear Connie, I could not feel that I'm not talking with a person who doesn't belong to England. He was totally sounding like a native English speaker. He was not sounding like a German one who is speaking English. Okay. So Hans Wolf had never set his foot in Dorset, but he was speaking fluent English. He had learned all he knew of England from school and from reading books in English. So how Hans Wolf was able to speak such fluent English? It was only because he was fond of reading English books and also he learned that from his school. His favorite writer was Thomas Hardy. His favorite book, Far from the Madding Crowd. So out there in no man's land, we talked of Bathsheba and Gabriel Oak and Sergeant Troy and Dorset. So who was the favorite writer of Hans Wolf? That is Thomas Hardy. And Hans Wolf's favorite novel is Far from the Madding Crowd, which is written by Thomas Hardy. Then both of them went on discussing about the characters of this novel, Far from the Madding Crowd, written by Thomas Hardy. The name of the characters are Bathsheba, Gabriel Oak, Sergeant Troy, and also they shared something about the place that is Dorset. He had a wife and one son, born just 6 months ago. As I looked about me, there were huddles of khaki and grey everywhere, all over no man's land, smoking, laughing, talking, drinking, eating. So then he could able to know, Jim McPherson could able to know that Hans Wolf had a beautiful wife and a son who was only of 6 months old. Okay, so both of them saw, they observed that both the grey colored and khaki colored coats are mingling across the no man's land, and they are just celebrating the day. They are smoking, they are eating, they are drinking, they are talking with each other, they are sharing, and they are laughing. Okay. Hans Wolf and I shared what was left of your wonderful Christmas cake, Connie. He thought the marzipan was the best he had ever tasted. I agreed. We agreed about everything, and he was my enemy. There never was a Christmas party like it, Connie. So finally, it was the time of sharing their cake, the cake which was made by Connie, the dearest wife of Mr. Jim McPherson. The cake was on the top of the cake. There was a covering of marzipan. Marzipan, here you can see in the screen. It's a sweet covering on a cake made from sugar, eggs and almonds. So the marzipan was a kind of covering on a cake. It was made from sugar, eggs and almonds. Both of them, Mr. Jim McPherson and Mr. Hans Wolf, both of them shared the tasty cake with marzipan, and both of them behaved like they are friends from several years. They did not feel that they belonged to the enemy parties. Okay. Then someone, I don't know who, brought out a football. Great coats were dumped in piles to make goalposts. And the next thing we knew, it was Tommy against Fritz out in the middle of no man's land. And then it was the time of playing. Okay, so somebody brought a football there, and they removed their great coats and they dumped all the great coats into piles to make goal posts. And what? Obviously, there was going to be a playful atmosphere. They are going to play football, that is across the no man's land. Tommy against Fritz. Tommy versus Fritz. Hans Wolf and I looked on and cheered, clapping our hands and stamping our feet to keep out the cold as much as anything. So everybody out there, they started clapping and stamping the foot because it was a frosty day, it was a frosty morning, and they have to keep themselves away from the extreme cold. That's why they started clapping and stamping their foot, and also they were very happy. That's why they clapped and stamped their foot. There was a moment where I noticed our breaths mingling in the air between us. See, this is a wonderful line. Here, Jim McPherson tells that he observed that the breath of the German soldiers and the British soldiers that was mingling in the soft breeze blowing there. That means the breath doesn't know the difference in between German people, German soldiers and British soldiers. The breath doesn't have the difference. So why the human being should have? There is no difference in between the people. Okay, all of us are having the same colored blood. We have the same structure. As I am having one nose, you too have one nose, two hands, two legs, a body. Okay, in the same way everybody is. So why should we make an indifference in between us? Why should we create a difference? Why should we create war? Why should we create such devastation? Okay, that was a question which was running in the mind of Jim McPherson. He saw it too and smiled. Jim McPherson, he said after a while, I think this is how we should resolve this war. A football match. No one dies in a football match. No children are orphaned. No wives become widows. Then Hans Wolf very generously says something to Mr. Jim McPherson. He says that I think, Mr. Jim McPherson, it would be better if we resolve the war with a football match. Let's play this game and let's declare who won and who could not win. And if we can resolve this matter in such a way, then no child will be orphaned, no wife will be widowed. This will be a peaceful, end of the war. But this could not happen. This will not happen, as making peace is not that easy. I would prefer cricket, I told him. Then we Thomas could be sure of winning, probably. We laughed at that and together we watched the game. And then Jim McPherson tells ki, no, I won't agree with the football match, because if we play a football match for winning, then definitely you are going to win. Rather, I would prefer cricket match, because I know that my team of cricket is very strong. It is stronger than you. So I would prefer the cricket match. Then we Britain soldiers would definitely win. We laughed at that and together we watched the game. Sad to say, here you can see the grey coats and khaki coats. Both of them were very happy. They are in a cheerful mood and they are playing the football. Coney, Fritz won 2-1. But as Hans Wolf generously said, our goal was wider than theirs. So it was not quite fair. So finally the game is played and the Fritz won. The time came and all too soon, when the game was finished, the schnapps and the rum and the sauces had long since run out. And we knew it was all over. The game was over and along with that, the schnapps, all the edibles they were having, the snaps and the sausage, everything was over. I wished Hans well and told him I hoped he would see his family again soon, that the fighting would end and we could all go home. So both of them wished each other that they wanted to go home and they wanted to meet their family members. So then it was the time of departure. They cannot be across the no man's land further. I think that is what every soldier wants on both sides, Hans Wolf said. Take care, Jim McPherson. Hans Wolf very, in a sentimental mode, wishes Jim McPherson the same and he tells him to take care of himself. I shall never forget this moment, nor you. He saluted and walked away from me slowly, unwillingly, I felt. And both of them unwillingly departed from one another. He turned to wave just once and then became one of the hundreds of grey-coated men drifting back towards their trenches. So then the grey-coated Fritz, they started drifting back, they started moving back towards their trenches, and it was a kind of painful moment for all of them, because that moment when they had forgotten all about the war, it was peaceful for them, because they knew what will be the result of the war. Ultimate devastation is the result of the war. So actually at that moment they did not want to have the devastation for their family members or for the normal human beings. All these devastation is not at all needed. So that's why it was a kind of painful moment for them when they were about to start their war again. Because once they are back to their own trenches, means they have to be like soldiers of their own country. Whatever commands will come to them, they must follow that. They must obey that. So let's continue. That night, back in our dugouts, we heard them singing a carol and singing it quite beautifully. It was Still Natch, Silent Night. So at that night they started singing. The Fritz started singing a beautiful carol. The lyrics of the carol is Still Natched. Still Natched is a German phrase which means silent night. Our boys gave them a rousing chorus of While Shepherds Watched. Then the Tommy also started singing. And the lyrics of that song which the Tommies sang was While Shepherds Watched. We exchanged carols for a while and then we all fell silent. We had had our time of peace and goodwill, a time I will treasure as long as I live. Then, after singing the songs, both of them fell silent, and it was the time to go into the deep sleep. So, Jim McPherson tells that it was a kind of beautiful moment for him, where he totally had forgotten about the drastic, fatal end of human lives. No soldier should die. No soldier who is trying to give his best effort to save his people should not die. And that night was very peaceful, and everybody who were present over there wanted that same peace in their lives. They didn't want that devastation. Dearest Connie, by Christmas time next year, this war will be nothing but a distant and terrible memory. I know from all that happened today how much both armies long for peace. We shall be together again soon, I am sure for it. Then finally, as the ending of the note, he wrote that, Dearest Connie, I know that in the next Christmas day, all this experience will just be a terrible memory. Okay. So he also tells that we shall be together again soon. I'll definitely come to you. I'll not die in the war, and I promise you that I'll be back to you. I'm sure of it. So by writing this, Jim McPherson ends the note there. I hope you got the explanation, you could able to understand. Now it's the time to write the answers. You please read the questions which is there on the screen right now. I would like to read it out. Who had written the letter, to whom and where? First question. Second question, why was the letter written? What was the wonderful thing that had happened? Third question, what jobs did Hans Wolf and Jim McPherson have when they were not soldiers? Fourth, had Hans Wolf ever been to Dorset? Why did he say he knew it? Fifth question, do you think Jim McPherson came back from the war? How do you know this? I hope you write the answers of all these questions in your note, in your own words. Okay, no need to copy others, no need to copy any other website or anything. So just use your understanding power and write down the answers. Thank you and have a nice day.